So I've been really creative this week.
Hi everybody, it's Steven here for Bland Designs, and this is vlog number 31 for Monday, August the 14th, 2017. So right off the bat, I want to tell you, you probably notice, or you may not, a slight difference. The sound. I have got myself wired to a microphone. Don't know if you can see it down here. Because I tape my vlogs usually on my iPad, and I found that the microphone in the iPad I didn't really like the sound quality in that. So I bought this microphone off of Amazon.ca. Wasn't that expensive. And I'm giving that a try. So now I've got a more professional sound system. Maybe. We'll see how that works out. Okay, so I hope you had a good weekend. And what's up this week? Well, let's see. I'm just looking at my notes here. Oh yeah, okay. First of all, let's talk about some of my projects. So I have a video about this, and the link will be below. But I decided to do a mixed media tag, and I used a lot of laser cuts with this, and I used some patina paints and whatnot, and I think it turned out pretty good. These are from Tim Holtz's paper doll collection. I really like those, and in fact I've got a little trick that I do in order to take his collection and vary the size of the pieces, and that's involving using my Cricut. And I'm thinking about doing a video later this week about how I take scanned images and print them and cut them from my Cricut. So that'll be later in the week possibly. But I think this turned out really nice. And it's kind of inspiring me to do more these mixed media kinds of pieces. So I am thinking of doing one on an old record. I'm going to show you some of the stuff I picked up this weekend at my local flea market. And I picked up 5 old records for $1 a piece. Now I've bought old records before that I've done acrylic pouring on. And but now I'm thinking of using them actually as a base for some unique wall art using mixed media pieces. By the way, these laser cuts, they're out of thin wood, come from Mike Deacon. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Mike Deacon again. You know how much I really admire Mike Deacon's products and things that he does. And I buy all of his laser cuts and his stencils and things like that because I really like them and they're good value, even though he has to ship them all the way from the UK. But even that is a pretty reasonable price. But we'll come back to that. So, what else? Yeah, I've been also making some cards too. Now, I want to show you something that I did. I was working on, well actually I'll show these to you first. I've gotten into making these bags, gift bags. And they're just plain brown paper bags. I bought them at the dollar store. And I just use my stencils and my pastes and my paints and do a similar treatment to the bag itself that I would do to a mixed media paste or an art journaling page. This is one of Mike Deacon's digital downloads, which I have put into my Cricut and had the Cricut cut it out, and I varied the size of it. And I think they make a really unique gift. Here's another one I've done as well. Again, this is a Mike Deacon digital download, and they're fun. I think they make the gift a little bit unique. They don't take any time to make at all. Really, you just throw down your texture paste, grab a couple of stencils. In this case, I use some rubber stamping, and bang, you can do it very quick. And I think they make the bag stand out a little bit better than those ones that we all buy from the dollar store to put gifts in because we're too lazy to wrap, or we don't like wrapping. I'm kind of that way. I don't like wrapping. It's easier to stick it in a bag. Okay, so I mentioned that, and the reason I'm mentioning the bags is because I use some spray inks on those bags, and I had a piece of scratch paper underneath to catch the ink. And the end result was this like nicely colored, you can see the sprays on this one. So I thought, what the heck, why throw it out? It's just a cheap piece of newsprint. And what I did was I just enhanced it by stenciling some more stuff on. In fact, I was using it when I was using this particular paste and stencil on the bags themselves. I had some of the paste left over, so rather than waste it, I just smeared it through the stencil onto the scratch paper. And I had a fairly large piece of scratch paper. It was a couple of feet long and a foot wide, about like that. And I thought, well, what can I do with it? So I added some more, I just did some rubber stamping, just randomly across it. I didn't really think about it. Used a toilet paper roll to make some marks in ink, and I ended up with these. Now, the trick with these though is to make them, like, because it's newsprint. Newsprint's pretty fragile, and I got the idea that I wanted to put this through my Cricut to cut out some die shapes with it. So what I did was I ran the newsprint. I cut the newsprint down to about 8 by 10 pieces. Some were a little smaller, as you can see here. And then I ran them through my Xyron. And if you don't know what a Xyron is, it's just basically a machine that allows you to make stickers out of anything. And I've got the large Xyron, and so it'll do pieces this big and slightly bigger. So basically it'll do an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Ran it through, makes it sticky on one side, and I just backed it onto a piece of cardstock. Simple as that. And I didn't get them centered perfectly. I just trimmed off the edges, and now I could put them in the Cricut. And why would I want to put them in the Cricut, you might ask? Well, this is why. You put them in the Cricut, and then you can cut out various shapes. So I made some butterflies, and I made some doilies, and I made some birds. And the idea here is that these are things that I'll be able to use in art journal pages or mixed media pages. And you know, the colors are kind of random, but they're nice. So you have that. The other thing I did too was, because they came out very colorful, I took pictures of them with my cell phone, as I do with a lot of my art journal pages, and made them into card bases. So here are my finished cards. And of course, because these are, I scanned the picture. I didn't scan it. I took the picture, and it's in my computer now. And now I can make as many of these as I want. And I think they're kind of nice as a note card or something like that. They're kind of nondescript, but you could dress them up. You could put happy birthday on them, you know, whatever you want. So that's, you know, don't throw out anything. Everything is art, as far as I'm concerned. So I did that. And what else did I do? Well, I did a video on this, and I tried a resin pouring. And I tried one, and it didn't really turn out all that well. I tried another one, and this one turned out a little better, although I'm not all that happy with it. But I did this about 5 days ago, and guess what? It's still tacky. The reason it's still tacky, though, is because I decided not to follow the directions on how much hardener to use, because I thought, well, on a canvas you don't need as much. I was wrong. You need as much. So I don't know if this is ever going to stop feeling tacky. I'm going to leave it for another few days, and worst case scenario, I will just go over it with, you know, with a spray varnish or something like that, and see if that sort of makes it a little bit drier. I don't know. It's an experiment. And I'm not finished doing stuff with the resins. I find that the art resin is a better resin. There's almost no odor to that. And if you saw the video when I did the first resin pouring, I was getting a little high on that stuff. And I had a lot of you make comments about that and tell me I was a bit of a fool. And you're very right. You're very right. I was. So I've learned my lesson. So use it in a well-ventilated area and try to use a product that doesn't give off as much of an odor. And art resin is good for that. It's too bad it's so expensive, because it is very expensive. Okay, what else? All right, so I mentioned that I went to the flea market and was looking for a few things on Sunday. I got some old records, as I've already mentioned, but I also got a few other things. I've been looking for cheap costume jewelry that I can break up, or little pieces and things like that. I've been to Value Village, which is a thrift store, and the stuff I'm finding there is actually kind of on the expensive side, even when you're going to hack it up. But at the flea market, this one lady had a stand, and she had all these pieces of jewelry, and they were $2.99 a piece, or 4 for $10. So I grabbed a few pieces. Got that, and that. And I intend to destroy them. I'm just going to break them up off the chain, cut them out, and I can use the pieces on mixed media things. So that was kind of a good find. Another really great find was I was looking for just some old, actually I was looking for, and I'm still looking for, a book of old-fashioned advertisements, you know, the illustrations, that kind of stuff. I still haven't come across one yet that I like and is reasonably priced, since I'm going to hack it up. I want it for background papers on an art journal page, but I found these, and these are kind of cool. These are what a record company called Decca Records, which I believe is still in existence, and it's located in the UK, but I guess back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, I don't know, they used to come out with these little pamphlets showing the latest releases of their records. And inside, let me find one here. This one's from December 1953. And so they tell you all the different recordings that they have. This one's featuring Christmas as well, but they list them all for ordering purposes, I guess. They have an order number, that kind of thing. I don't know if these are worth any money. I don't imagine they are, but they're really kind of cool. So what I'm going to do with them, and I don't know what I'd do without my scanner. It's my most important device. I'm going to scan all of these to make them into like background pieces that I can use in mixed media and things like that. I really don't want to destroy these because they're old. They're older than me. Oh my God. So I found those. I also found, this must have been something that people could buy a subscription to, and every month get a set of cards, because there's holes in these. And these are of movie stars. And on the front is a picture of the movie star. And on the back, they have a bio. But what I'm really loving about these is these images of, you know, famous celebrities from time. There's Danny Kaye. I don't know if you remember Danny Kaye. But all of this kind of thing, I'm thinking, again, scan these. And then I'll have the Cricut cut them out. And what I can do is probably remove this background around here so that you just get the head and the shoulders and that kind of thing, which could make really interesting elements on a scrapbooking page. So all of that, I think I paid probably more than I should have. I asked the lady when I came up with this pile of stuff in my hand and said, how much do you want for it? And she says, how about $10? I probably could have bargained her down to like $5, but I didn't, and I wanted them, and so it's still a good price. Okay, so that's what I've been working on, and I'm about to do the Mission Inspiration Facebook page, which is Mike Deacon's monthly challenge. I've been getting pieces together for it. I don't usually have a real plan for an art journal page, but this particular one I do have a plan. So yesterday I spent a lot of time going through my stash of elements and putting together the things that I might use on this art journal page. So I will videotape it as I do it, and just watch for the notification when that comes out. Hopefully it'll be video worthy. Okay, what do you want? Okay, YouTube channel of the week. And this is one, I've been a subscriber to it for several years, and she's been on for many, many years. She's a fellow Canadian. She lives in Toronto, and it's called Scrap Time. And so watch this. This week's YouTube channel is called Scrap Time. Scrap Time is another fellow Canadian who lives just in Toronto and really not that far from where I live. And I've been following her for quite a few years now. She has videos about how to use all the latest products that are out there and a lot of tips and tricks for both scrapbooking and especially for card making. But she does branch out into other things as well, like weaving and all kinds of different other crafts. She's also published. She has several books that can be purchased via iTunes, and they're very, very good. In fact, I think I have every one of the books that she has published. Now, she hasn't published anything very recently, but nevertheless, she is still worth checking out. The videos are usually 10 minutes long on average, maybe a little longer at times, but very informative, very professionally done, and I find them entertaining as well. So that's Scrap Time, and I'll put the link in the description below. Okay, so I hope you'll check out Scrap Time. Now, what's next on my list here as I look down? Oh yeah, okay, so here are some new videos I put up in the past week, and I've got the links in the description below. I put up one I call acrylic pouring video number 14, and that's where I'm using the art resin, and that's on this piece that I showed you a few minutes ago. What else? Oh, I've got a crap number 15, and you know that crap stands for creative relaxation and play. That's up, and in that I did the large mixed media tag that I showed you earlier. And do I have anything else new up there? I've also put in some links to the Scrap Time YouTube channel that you just saw. And I've put a link in with Mike Deacon. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Mike Deacon just a little bit later on. But right now, let's talk about what's pissing me off this week. All right. Actually, this isn't pissing me off. This is just I don't even know what you would call it. It's a bit of a concern, but I got thinking about it the other day, and it's basically people who won't take a chance with their art. Now, what I mean by that, and just excuse me for a second, I'm just reaching for my coffee. Just getting serious when I get my coffee out. These are people who basically want to copy what they see that they like, on YouTube or in classes or things like that. And they seem to be afraid to venture out and try something on their own or make something their own. Now, I've got nothing against getting inspired and using ideas that other people have used. I find, well, copying, they say, is a supreme form of flattery. And I put my stuff up on YouTube to inspire people as well, and I don't mind at all if they copy. But here's the problem when people copy. They get frustrated because they can't get all the same elements that somebody else used in the piece. They want their final piece to look exactly like what that person is showing on YouTube or in a class. And I know this firsthand because I used to teach scrapbooking classes. And I was warned when I did my first classes that people were going to want to know exact measurements, like how far down from the top and how far in from the left on your scrapbooking page did you put that page or that frame or that element. And I laughed. I thought, yeah, really? I just eyeball it. You know, if it's pleasing to my eye, that's where I put it. I don't usually do any kind of measurements. Nope, I was wrong. People came up, they had rulers in their hand. Really, they had rulers in their hand and they were measuring my sample because they wanted theirs to be exactly the same. Okay, I was flattered that they liked it so much that they wanted to copy it exactly, but I feel sorry for those people because what they're doing is they're limiting themselves. And I think it's probably a lack of confidence. I should know. I've told you the story way back in an earlier vlog about how I was told by an art teacher that I should never take art again because I stunk at it. And I took that criticism seriously, and I never took an art class the rest of my life. And it wasn't until I discovered scrapbooking, 17 years ago, that I started to explore this medium, and it branched out to all kinds of things today. Yeah, I like to be inspired by other people, and I watch a lot of YouTubes, as you know, and I get a lot of inspiration and ideas. But I always want to alter it in some way to suit my style, to suit my imagination, to have some fun with it. If I was just to purely copy what they did, I don't see the point. Now, I know that a lot of scrapbooking stores sell scrapbooking kits, and basically most of the work is all done for you. All you have to do is just slap down your pictures. All the elements are there. They have a diagram of what to do, where to put things, and people follow that faithfully. And kits seem to be very, very, very popular. Well, that's fine. Okay, if you're the kind of person that you want to do scrapbooking or card making, but basically you just want to get it done because you want to get your pictures in that album and move on, fine. They're great for that. They're fast, they're easy, so why not? But I still think you're missing out on exploring what you can do. Now, you don't need to show it to anybody. You don't need to worry about criticism from other people. I think that's what holds a lot of people back. We never feel that we're good enough. You're not doing it for other people. You're doing it for yourself. At least I am. And once I got over that idea, sure, we all like to show things to people and have them say nice things about it. It's great for our ego. It builds our self-confidence a little bit. But art is in the eyes of the beholder. So not everybody is going to like everything that you do. That doesn't matter. If I like it, if I'm happy with it, if it brings me joy, then that's all that matters. Really, that's all that matters. That's what the whole creative process, I think, is about. And by limiting yourself because you're trying to copy something exactly as it is, I think you're stunting your growth as a creative person. You're not taking up a challenge. You're not extending your imagination. So really, I'm not pissed off with this as such. To each his own. But I really think, if you don't break outside of the box, as they say, you're going to stagnate. So that's why I want to talk about this week. That was something that came up. In fact, it came up because I was watching a YouTube video, and the person on the YouTube video was saying she was getting frustrated with people saying, well, where do you get this piece and where do you get that piece? I can't find them. And she was trying to say to them, you don't have to have exactly what she was using. You can find other things. Use your own stash. Just use this as a jumping off point, as an idea. So anyways, think about it. Make things work for you. And if copying another idea, if you like the kits, that whole kind of thing, then fine. If that makes you happy, that's all that's important. Okay, so that was what's pissing me off this week. So what do you want to talk about next? Well, let's have a sip of coffee. So I showed you last week the Vicki Buton glazes, and I'm waiting for her crayons to come into my store. In fact, I probably will be getting those sometime later this week. But I was out shopping about, and I found a couple of more jars of her glaze, the gold and the silver. So I like the iridescent and the one that she just calls glaze. I like those so much that I bought the other two jars. And yeah, I really like them. They're slightly different than colored texture pastes I've used before because they're so fluid, and yet they still have enough body that they don't like slide underneath your stencil and things like that. So they're a great product. I did tell you that I wrote to Vicki on Facebook. I never got any answer or reply. She's probably a very busy person, and well, I'm just one of those little people out there, so why spend time, with me? She's got, I'm sure, lots of other things to worry about. Now, I do want to talk again, come back to Mike Deacon's laser cuts. You saw them on the mixed media piece, this. And they're great. And the thing about them is they are so reasonably priced, and even though it's in pounds, he charges a flat rate of, I think, £5.95. I don't know, is it 95 pence? I'm never sure. It's $5.95, but it's in pounds to ship them at least to Canada. And our dollar, the pound right now, I think, is around, we get a pound costs about $1.60 something Canadian. So, it's a little bit expensive, but really, when you translate it through and the shipping and the whole bit, it's still very reasonable. And he has new ones out almost every month. And every time he announces them, I order them because I love them. They're great. But I've also discovered that you can find these kind of cuts in Michaels. I never thought of looking in Michaels for them, like outside of the scrapbooking. You go in where they have those wood panels and things like that, and they have a bunch of, like, they don't have a great selection, but they have some, and they're not a bad price either. So, and I really like using them, but I like Mike's. And the other thing is, Mike sent me in my last order a card, a thank you card with a note inside. I won't read you the note, but this is one of his. And this is, you know, it's an original, and it's with his digital downloads and things like that. And I was really excited when I opened up the box and I found this card from him. I wrote to Mike and thanked him for it because he didn't need to do that, but he did. Just the kind of person I think that he is. So I think it's a gorgeous card. So this one is going in a place of honor as well, because it's just, you know, it's just beautiful, gorgeous. So thank you, Mike, for that. And what else do I have that's new? Oh, well, I already told you about my new microphone, so you should be able to hear a little bit of a difference in the quality of the sound on this video. I'm hoping you are. And what else? I told you about my vintage and mixed media finds at the flea market. And I mentioned about making your own die cuts from JPEGs using your Cricut Explorer. Now there's other videos out there about it, but I'm going to do a video later this week showing you how I do it and why I do it. It's the print and cut feature, they call it on the Cricut, and I use that a lot. And it's only 1 week away before they release the Cricut Maker, and I'm excited about that. And I'm just wondering how, I'm even seriously staying up till past midnight next Saturday night, because August the 20th, this one's going to be released, and that's the Sunday, just to see if I can go on right after midnight onto the Cricut website and put it in order. I know they're going to sell, and they're going to sell out fast. And I want one. And as I said before, I don't care how much it's going to cost me in shipping or whatever, I want one of those machines. And I love my Cricut, and I'm on my third Cricut right now. So, and then Walter said to me, so what are you going to do with your old Cricut? Sell it? And I said, hell no, I'm not selling my old Cricut. What's better than one Cricut? Two. Really. I mean, I got rid of my original Cricuts, but the new one does things, and the other Cricut works really well too. It just doesn't cut as many materials, that's all. So I'm looking forward to that, especially looking forward to the fact that it'll cut material. I want to get a little bit more into sewing things, but sewing things as in for mixed media projects. And I don't know how to sew, but I have a sewing machine, and actually I think it's kind of fun to play with. So anyways, that's down the tube, or coming up soon too. So what's been going on in the past week? Well, a very good friend of mine, it was her 65th birthday party. It was supposed to be a surprise, but we found out that her husband kind of let the cat out of the bag first thing that morning, just so she'd be prepared for it all. It was fun, great food, great entertainment, the whole bit. And of course, I had designed her invitations for the party, and they came from one of my original artworks. And so I gave her, and I mentioned this before, I gave her the original piece of artwork. I framed it and put it all together, and with a little explanation card about, you know, how it was generated. And, you know, in 100 years' time, maybe I'll be a famous artist, and it'll be worth money that she can, you know, pass this down through the generations of her family. Yeah, and if I was to believe that, then probably someone could sell me swampland in Florida too. And what else is coming up? Well, I've got 2 days this week. I've got to take my mother to the eye doctor. She had cataract surgery about a year and a half ago. And of course, after you've had cataract surgery, I know because I've had cataract surgery as well, you get something they call secondary cataracts, which is basically, I guess your eyes are kind of fighting the artificial lenses they stick in your eyes. during the operation, and so they kind of cover them and things become a little bit foggy, but they clean it up. You go in, it takes about 5 minutes, and they blast your eye with a laser. It's absolutely painless, there's nothing to it at all, and it cleans it all up, and you're not looking through a fog anymore. So my mother has the fog, and so I'm taking her this week to have that done. Excitement, eh? Whoa. So much excitement, I can hardly stand it. But there is something coming up that's exciting. So, I may have mentioned this before, I may not have mentioned this before, but Walter is retiring at the end of September. And he kind of wants to celebrate his new freedom, his new life, by going on a little trip. So we got thinking, well, we haven't been to Ottawa in a while, so let's drive up to Ottawa, spend a couple of days there, and then we thought, well, we'd go down into the States, and we'd go down to the Finger Lakes and to Ithaca and to Corning. Corning's where they have the glass manufacturing, you know, they do glass blowing and all kinds of things. It's Corningware, basically. And then maybe up to Buffalo. I mean, we've been through Buffalo many times, but we've never really stopped and stayed, and so we thought we'd do that. And, you know, go for about a week. Yeah, that's fine. I'm a little apprehensive about going to the States these days for a variety of reasons. And I'm not going to get into them. But, you know, basically, our dollar's not so good there either, and I don't know, there's just something about the atmosphere in the States. I don't know if it's because of, you know, the politics or what's going on now or whatever. And I don't want to say anything derogatory about Americans, because that's not really what I feel. I just right now feel that maybe there are other places to go to. So having said that, Walter comes the other day. He always surprises me and says, got thinking about this trip. You know, for what we would probably spend doing that, we could probably get a flight and go to London. And I went, oh, hell yes. I'd much rather go to London, England, than down through the States. Now, you're going to say, oh, wait, don't they have a little problem with terrorists over there? Well, you know, you could get shot in Toronto. So, you know, if you were to worry about that all the time, then the terrorists have won, for one thing. And second of all, yeah, just don't. You know, you can worry about walking outside of your house, tripping on a loose stone and breaking your neck. So if you did that all day, you'd just be stay in your house underneath the blankets. So anyways, we are going to London for a week. We've already booked the flight. We've booked the hotel. And then he says to me, like I said, he's full of surprises. He goes, you know, we could take the Eurostar train, high-speed train that goes through the Channel, underneath the English Channel, and go to Paris for a day. Now, we've been to Paris before several times. I like Paris. And I said, hell yeah, let's do it. So we've booked tickets on the Eurostar for one day. We get on the train at like 7 o'clock in the morning. We get to Paris at about 10 o'clock, or a little bit earlier than that. And we're taking the 8 o'clock train back to London. So we're going to spend the day in Paris. And we're just going to wander around. There's a couple of museums we haven't been to in quite a few years that we wouldn't mind going to again. We've been to the Louvre many, many times. I love the Louvre. But there's also d'Orsay, which is, you know, the Impressionists and that kind of thing, which is great to see. And there's a few other places too. We're not going to bother going up the Eiffel Tower. Usually the lineups are long. I've been up there before, and it's neat. If you've never done it, yeah, do it. But I've done it. So I've done it twice, actually, in my life. So I think that's good. Yeah, so that'll be cool. And we're just going to wander through London. What we see, we see. And I'm looking really forward to this trip because I really like London a lot. And we haven't been there since 2014. So this will be great. So that's coming up. And that's coming up pretty soon. We fly out on Thanksgiving, well, Canadian Thanksgiving, Monday, which is October the 9th, and come back about the 18th. So that brings up the question about my weekly vlogs. I am going to try and do a vlog while I'm on the road when I'm in London. And I probably will. I'm going to take my iPad with me, so I'll be able to do it. But uploading it to YouTube, we will have a Wi-Fi connection in the hotel. We'll see how good that connection is and whether or not I can put it up. but it may be delayed by a few days till we get back. So fair warning right then. And anyways, yeah, so that's the week that was, and I don't think there's anything else that I can tell you. So I hope you have a good week, and hope you have a nice weekend, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye bye for now.